Hello everybody, we're going to be making one of these little cars. This one actually isn't complete, but it's one of the 3D miniatures, and it's in response to all the questions that we've had about how to assemble it. So if it's the first time that you've joined one of these little videos, then my name's Stephanie Waitman, and I'm not going to apologise because I'm going to show you everything. Even if it goes wrong, we're not going to stop and edit it and make me look perfect because I've got an amazing editor. We're going to carry on and I'm going to show you how to put it right. But I've also, one of the questions that we've been asked, and I want to get this one out of the way right at the very beginning, then we can focus on assembly, is what happens if I want to make the car double-sided? Because this is going to look great if it is actually on the front of a card, and it's got all the tabs inside it for you to be able to glue that in place. So that's one of the things that we're going to do. But if I wanted to make a complete car, I'm going to make two of them and I'm going to glue them back to back. Now, this was a complete sheet that I just got out of my stash, and I've already cut the two cars. So I've got everything I need on this one sheet to make two of the half cars or one full car. But to make the one full car, I need to make a change to the sheet itself. And that means taking it into Minecraft Studio and just flipping the image. Now, I haven't flipped mine, but I'm going to show you how you then cut it. So here is the first image. The second one, so if you imagine on the back of this, that would be the same car and it would be flipped. And all I've done is I've picked a point that I can use to line my die up. And the obvious point for me here was the roof, because I've got a little corner there, a little corner there, and a flat line. So when I line my die up, I'm going to line it up like this over the top, and I'm going to make sure that that actually sits inside where it should on the die. And you'll feel it almost, if you've cut it to the exact line, you'll feel it just sort of literally lock in. And then the next thing that we're going to do is put a bit of tape over the top of this and run it through our die cutting machine. And that then means that you will get two of the cars cut and they're going to be flipped. Now, with the exception of everything else, that's the only piece that you need to actually flip. So that is how you're going to make a complete car. But for card making, the best way to do it is to have them flat. So let's take a look at what we can be doing. And there's a few things here, and I've purposely chosen one that's going to show you a lot of the little challenges, but the little tips that are going to make those easy, make you an amazing crafter, and also give you a really professional result. So the first thing was, I mentioned that this had come out of my stash. It's printed on probably a card weight that's a little bit heavier than I would normally use. So I would be looking for something that is anywhere from about 140 up to 200, definitely not over 220. Because the lighter weight means that you are going to get and be able to manipulate the paper much, much better. So then the question then arises of what happens when I put this on my card. Is it going to squash? Well, the wheels are really sturdy. But what you can do is you can build up 2 or 3 layers of foam. And I'm actually going to do that now for you. So you can build up 2 or 3 layers of foam inside so that it actually cushions and pads it out. So I've pulled a piece off, and you're going to then lay up more and more. I want to show you a little tip. So work out roughly how long you need that to be. And I'm going to come to about there. Without taking the back off, I'm going to start to, line it up and just roll it. So I've got a little bit of glue on my fingers that's sticking. So I don't take the back off until now. So this is the back, by the back I mean the carrier sheet. So I'm just going to use the pokey tool. Our trusty pokey tools are so useful that sometimes they get forgotten, but I'm going to be using it a lot here. So I'm going to roll it back to there, and then I'm going to roll this one again. So now I've gone even thicker. If you've got pads at home that are the right thickness for this, then you're not going to have to worry about doing it. But this is a great little trick if you don't and you need that extra little bit of depth. I'm using my fingers, just holding it, making sure that I've got it really nice and firm together. And also my fingers are also making sure that it's level there. And I think one more turn and that should be sufficient. So take your time when you're doing this. I'm going really quite quickly. I'm just going to check the depth of it, and that's perfect. I'm going to cut that off. Need to do something with these scissors. Did you see how hard they were to open? That's a scissor cleaning day, I think. Right, let's take the back off. And now if I place that on that edge there, you're going to see how the edge of, and I use my pokey tool, look, they're level. So that is going to cushion it, support it when it's actually in your card, just by putting that layer of foam along the bottom. So let's take the back off that, and I'm going to leave it with the backing on it so that it's not sticky and I can handle it, because by sure I will get this stuck somewhere. So I'm going to put that down, and again, look at that. See how it's immediately supported. It makes such a difference. So let's get on to the assembly of the car itself. The first thing I'd like you to do is think about all the different pieces that you've got. So you can see where the wheels are going to go. We've got one here. We've got one that's going to go right at the front, and we've got a wheel arch where we're going to be putting another one of those wheels. We've got the roof. We've got two little doors. They both open. So you can have them, so just by snipping through the little pip that I've got here, you can have those so that they're both open. And this is the back of the car. So I'm going to start off by just getting all of these score lines in place and just folding and starting to get the shape of the body. The bonnet I can see and the window are going to join together because the little tabs I've got are going to make that come to life. So I'm going to start by literally getting all of these pieces in place. I need to just get up my angel that's at the front, the emblem of this beautiful Rolls Royce that we've got. So I'm making each of these, and you can see where the tabs are. So anywhere that there's a tab, there's potentially a score or some shaping to do. Now, the other thing that I want to do for everybody is I am going to ask the team to do that double-sided charisma for you, because I want to try and make it as easy as possible. So where you've got wheel tabs, these actually have to poke out. So wheel tabs poke out, score lines fold back. So I've now got everything starting to come together, and it's already starting to become more like the car that we want it to be. The running board that I've got here, well, that's going to get shaped over the wheel that I've got. And you can see how that immediately, again, is coming to life. So I'm going to start working in the middle of this piece of card. I'm moving all of those pieces out to the edge. So that's how we're going to start. I'd like to just talk about the adhesive that we're going to work with. So on here, I've already got a couple of little pieces of the wet glue. And the wet glue is designed so that, it's the red liner glue. The red liner glue is designed to give it a really instant bond. But I would also be using wet glue, because the wet glue will give it a permanent bond. So I'm going to start to think about the order that I'm going to assemble this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is put the back on. So let's have a look at the back. And to do that, I need to take off the tape that I've got here. And a huge thank you to the lovely Lily, who has put this all together so that I can get as many of these done today as possible, because we've had quite a few little questions about how to assemble it. And what that's also done is it's reminded me of how much more we need to do with instructions for you. So we will be looking at that going forward. Really try and listen to the feedback that we get. So this is the back of the car, and I'm going to fold in those two pieces. But before I do, I'm just going to take my pokey tool and I'm just going to shape this a little bit. I don't want it completely rigid. I want them to break just a few of the fibres in the car, in the paper, so that I've got a little bit more movement, and it will start to then hold its place without me having to do anything to it. So coming here, I've got the back of the roof, and I've also got that back of the door. And you can see how I've started to pull those together. And then I'm going to fit the panel that I've got there directly on top and fold that round so that I'm creating the back and the back window. This piece is the piece that is going to allow us, I'm just going to hold that down, and I'm going to hold it down, and I'm going to just reinforce that score line because it wasn't quite as sharp as I wanted it, and just pinch that in my fingers. And that is how we are going to, the first two pieces, assemble and glue that to the back of the card. Now let's do the same with our the main window, so the front window of the car. So I'm just going down the roof and making sure that I've got a good firm crease. And you can see now the top of that roof is really nice and rectangular with sharp edges on both of them. I'm going to bring down the mirror, listen to me, the window, the windscreen, and we've got, I need a bonnet. Here's my bonnet. So my bonnet is going to sit here. So I'm going to start off by gluing the bonnet to the windscreen. So, oops, no glue. So let's get a little bit of glue, and I haven't got my red liner tape, but I am going to put a little bit of this on here. So this is going to take us a second, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put it on and I'm going to slide it so that I don't get too much of that glue. I'm just going to let that go off, and I have got a little bit too much, so I'm going to take some of that off on the paper, and let's just glue that in place and hold that for a second. So while I'm holding it, I'm just going to talk to you about the wheels. So the wheels start off completely flat, and they've got all the little spokes around them. Then this is how we're going to create our semicircle, our circle. So that's now in place. So you can see how I can now pull down the front windscreen and pull up the bonnet of the car, and that's going to sit in place here. So we're going to take off the red liner tape, and can you imagine all the different occasions you could send these for? This is going to make the most amazing wedding invitation. Or, well, that's going to take you a while to make them, but you could do some special ones, couldn't you? And what about also dad's cards, guys' cards? And do you know, I'm a bit of a car fan as well, so I would quite like getting a car as a card. And there you can see now, one of the little tips that we've got here that we have to make sure is that we've got to get the bonnet and the front of the car to all come together. So I'm just going to do that piece first, because I think this will make it easier for you to line it up. And it's this piece and this piece. So again, a tiny little bit of adhesive here and here. Whoops, yeah. It's going to go, no it's not, Stephanie, got that piece wrong, it's going to go there. So let me just double check that I'm telling you to do this right. I'm just going to check mine. Oh, I've lost my angel off this one. Oh, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that you have got it. So I'm going to pop her there, and so I've glued that in place there, and I'm going to get her to pop out there. Right, okay. Now I'm going to hold this for a second, and then I'm going to show you what I've just done. So there's the little angel, or whatever the emblem is, and it's this little one here. And I've just glued it along there, and I'm leaving this piece so that it's creating like a little triangle. So do not glue this piece here, because that creates the little triangle. And if I just fold this back, my angel, oh my gosh, imagine sitting in this Rolls Royce and seeing that angel actually on the front of the car. And that is how it's going to look. You can see it there, okay? Right, let's put these wheels together. I don't know about you, but when I'm crafting, I find that I quite often am talking to myself. And not only talking to myself, but also thinking about what the next thing I'm going to do is. And it's interesting because talking to you, it's like you get the ramblings of a Madden while I'm just doing all my favourite bits, which are my crafting. Right, so I've got the front of the car. Now I'm going to go into here and I'm going to assemble this piece. So a little bit of adhesive, and that might be a little bit too much, but I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm going to just glue that in place so that I can hold, so we can come back to the wheels. So this is the first one, first piece that you need. And then you need a spoke, the wheel itself. And so this is the piece, this is the tyre, and this is what holds it to the car. So that is now held in place. So you can really start to see the whole thing coming together. So we've got a wheel and we're going to roll these down. Now, before you do that, this is a little tip for you. I'd like you to just take it in your hand, use something like the back of a pokey tool and just roll the actual tyre little pegs or prongs in that we've created. Roll those in, but because you've actually just gone round it and sort of broken the fibres, look at how easily they come in. And also the other thing is you don't end up with it sort of like straight and then a gap, straight gap, straight gap. It becomes a much smoother wheel, and I think you can see that there. So I've got to take all these little pieces of tape off. This is where I really do owe Lily a thank you, because I would be needing my glasses for this one, but that red liner tape's so easy to work with. So we're just going to take these off and using the pokey tool to get into them. And I got to also apologise to you guys at home, because at the moment I am painting, I'm inking, I'm I've been doing the garden because it's the end of the, it's coming to the end of the summer and it's autumn, and so I've been digging, and I have got paint and glue and cuts and war wounds and all sorts, but it doesn't stop you crafting, does it? That's the best bit, but you get the pleasure of seeing all the glue and what I've been up to. So that's good fun. And so I'm going to take these off. I've got a couple of them. Perhaps next time I do this, I'll take off most of them and then you don't have to sit and watch me do this, but at least you're seeing it in real time. And so there they are. And the only thing about liner tape is it's got a little bit static. And so a little tip for you, if you want to get rid of it, and you see they came off really easily, put some hand cream on before you start crafting, and it actually then doesn't stick to you. Right, so here's my tyre. And now I'm going to do this part. So we're going to just curve this with our pokey tool. And we're going to curve it there. And I'm going to break that. And then I'm going to look at how that is already creating the shape that we need. Now the next part of it, get it started. So you want to make sure that the tyre starts on half of one of these little pieces, these little tabs of paper, and then pull it tight. So as you're doing this, pull it really tight, because the tighter you get it, the more this will look professional, and also the better the finish will be of your whole project. And so I'm coming all the way round here and I'm pushing those tabs in as I'm working, and I'm pulling it tight, and I'm making sure that I get a really good finish to this. And if you've pulled it tight enough, you will get just the tiniest overlap there. And then I want to tell you what I've done wrong. Okay, so my lovely camera lady, Nikki's already smiling at me because she probably noticed 15 minutes ago. I've only just noticed because I was that busy making sure that my wheel was tight that, I didn't even think about it. But I'm going to show you how to put it right. This little tab here should be on the other side. So this is how we put it right. You get your scissors, you're going to snip that off. It's already got the glue on it, and we're going to put it on the other side. So don't throw away that beautiful wheel you've just made, because there's nothing wrong with it. You're just going to put your tab inside and fold it in like that. Okay, right, let's take a look at this. So I've got one here that I started earlier. This one is a little bit tighter. Look at the difference. You don't get the gaps that you've got here. You get a much smoother finish. And then you can take it onto your craft mat, and I'm just using my pokey tool to make sure that the tire actually is pulled out from, because where I've been using my fingers, I could have actually squished it a little tiny bit, but the end of the pokey tool or anything else that you've got that's about that size will just allow you to get that little bit of movement in there, and it gives you a really perfect finish. So this is ready to go onto the car. So I'm going to put this one on the back. No, I'm not going to put this one on the front, because this is the one that's going to go on the running board. That's what that little tab is for, to make sure that I can glue it in place. So I'm going to glue the first part of it with that red liner tape, and it doesn't seem to want to stick, so let's put a little bit more adhesive on. That's probably because I've been handling it so much. And then we need the adhesive on the bottom of the board here, the running board. I think that's what they call them. I remember seeing in gangster films, they used to jump on them, didn't they, and try and escape when the police were trying to capture them. And let's just put that so that that's in place. And on some of them, you may find that you've got the wheel is just going to come up slightly above I'm just going to turn the board up there, which is what I need. So I've turned the board up, so the wheel's going to come just very slightly above the front of the car, so the bonnet. So you're going to need to make sure that that tab is round at the side and is not in the way. I'm just going to hold that for a little bit longer and make sure that's all where it needs to be. Right, I want to show you a little tip, and it's something that will make a difference. So first of all, we've got white edges. We've got white edges because we're cutting into a white paper that's got print on the top. I'm just going to take my grey and I'm just going to let you see what happens. So where you see that grey ink, you can see how it's literally taken away the edge, and up here we can still see it. So before you get started with all of your crafting, I want you to get hold of the pieces that you've got and just run them through either your ink pads or your coloured cardstock. And I'm going to show you again the difference. So there's one that I've done. You can really see into that now that the edge is nice and clean. And here's one against the black. And you can see that white edge, so it just finishes it off. So by doing that little bit of grey that I've got there, you can see the difference that it is made to the actual running board. So we're now going to come back here and just going to shape it, and I'm going to use my pokey tool to get a little bit more shape in there. And I'm going to run this round these spokes. And I've got two ways of doing this. I can put this onto the spokes, or I can put the spokes onto the wheel and then put this over the top of the wheel. It's entirely up to you which way you do it. I think you get a better finish if you actually put it onto the wheel first. So let's take a little bit of glue. This is one of the wheels that was done earlier, and we'll just put that little bit of a glue there, and I'm going to leave that to go off. I've got another one here, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this one, and I'm going to leave that one to go off because I need two more of them. And then I'm going to just look at the other parts that I've got and make sure that everything is nicely shaped and I've got those lovely smooth lines starting to come together. So we should be about ready. If I take a little bit of that glue, that should be sufficient for me to just roll that round and hold it in place. So this is where I ask for forgiveness. If it isn't perfect, your wheels will be, but if mine aren't, then I hope you're not going to mind, because we do just want to get to the end, and that's the decorating, which is the best bit. So again, don't forget to put that something in there that you can use, that you can actually make those wheels nice and rounded. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. Now, these wheels are not the same as the ones that we've got on this piece of decoupage. And you can see there the little tabs that we've got. So I've actually got that little tab is here. And it is actually only where all these little pieces that you can see are only where you've got the little elements that are the numbers of the pieces. They're not actually part of the decoupage design. So please don't look at it and think, oh, what's that piece that's on the decoupage on the sheet? It's not on my dies. It'll help you line them up as well. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to put those little tabs inside the wheel, and they are going to get glued in place. So let's do that. You've got two different ways of doing it. If I'm going to glue it like this, I can put down the running board first, but I like the running board to go over the wheel. So I'm going to do it so that the wheel goes to the side. They're going to come in. No, they're not. They're going to go back. So they're going to go back. And that little bit of adhesive there. And actually, do you know what? I'm quite proud, considering it's a long time since I've done one of these. And I purposely didn't practice because I want to experience it like you do at home. You know, the first time you make something, and you're actually thinking it through logically. So here we go. So now we're ready to put our wheel on. And I'm going to fold that tab in. And I'm going to tuck the tab. I'm just going to let you see this. So I'm going to tuck the tab inside there. And I'm going to fold these so they go round the wheel. And then my running board is going to go round the top like that. So let's get some adhesive on there. While that's just going off, I'm going to go back to this wheel and I'm going to make sure that that bit that I did is going to get nicely stuck. I'm just going to hold that together. Don't think I left it too long. If I did, I might need a bit more glue, but I think it's going to hold. Then this is ready for that to go round there. And a good little tip, if you have got the glue where you don't want it, and as always I have, is I'm going to get one of my little glue adapters. These are fabulous little things. And you can just go in here and get out any excess glue. You see how easy that is to just get that excess glue out there. And then on the last wheel, I'm going to show you how to, oh, that's looking really good. Right, this one we're going to glue differently. So I'm going to glue this one to the running board so you can see that's done the other way. So you've got one done of each way. You choose which is your preferred choice. Just going to hold that down for a second longer. Then I'm going to come here and you're going to take one of these little tools. And this is where, oops, stuck. I mentioned about the white edges. Look at this. Just a little bit of that, almost like blacking, putting it round the wheel will make a difference. So just taking a tiny little bit of the ink, and I'm just going to leave the rest of it not done so that you can see. Let's rub that through the differences. Look at how much better that looks to this white up here. Take a little bit more time than I have. You'll get a much improved result. I'm going to put a tiny little bit of adhesive here in the running board there, where my wheel arch. Oh, listen to me, all my technical terms. So that's going to go in there, like that. I'm just going to hold that in place for a second or two. So we'll just hold that. Better get that out the way because that could cause me a problem. I'm also, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this roof. Now, remember I told you I got this paper out of my card stash. I'm going to show you two different ways of dealing with this. So my paper has cracked very slightly. If you have got an ink pad or a pen that matches the colour and you can go along these edges, then I would recommend that you do that. And that's a good way of doing it. But I'm also going to show you another quick way of actually making it better too. So there you can see now I've got, don't forget, remember I nearly stuck this piece in, and you don't need to do that because otherwise you're going to lose the actual front of the front grille. So if we didn't want to do anything else, that is now ready for us to stick onto the front of our card. So let me lift this up and show you. I've got all the main pieces that I need on it, but I can go on and decorate it. So I am going to go on and I'm going to decorate it with the front. So this is actually for when you do the whole thing. You've got the lamps that we've got, and you've also got the starter motor, so you need that the right way up, otherwise that's going to not work, is it? So that actually will sit like this, so you can see that we've got that. I'm not quite sure how far down the starter motor wants to come. I guess about there, because I don't want to lose my little angel. And I can fold this piece back, and what happens by doing that is this actually will sandwich inside and it holds it all together. So by doing that, you actually sandwich it and hold it together. So that's one of the pieces. The other pieces are our ribbons if we want to make this into a wedding car. So that can actually come to the top of the roof, or it could come to the edge of the door. You choose where you want to have it. And then you've got these little bows, which we can use, and they can actually hold, they can hold the ribbons down. So you've got those little bows to work with. And then the other thing we've got is we've got these little pieces, and they go on the front of the wheels. So that actually makes the wheel stand out a little bit more. And then I think, have we used everything? I think we've just about used everything. We've got a couple of little tabs here, and you know what? I'm going to be perfectly honest because I can't remember what they're for, and I didn't need them. So if you can find a place for them, email me and tell me where you put them, okay? Right, I'm going to show you another way of getting rid of these cracks on the roof. And then I am going to stick this to the front of a piece of card. The black one. I'm going to go all the way back to that black wheel. I'm also going to show you what would happen if I had used just black instead of charisma for a tyre. Look at this. So if I hold that in place like that, it makes it a very black tyre, and you get the black at the front. So that's another option for you. If you've cut out the whole of the car, something that we can do on the roof to get rid of that crack, I can cut into it. I'm going to cut along here. I'm also going to keep the windscreen. I am going to keep the back actually. Let's do it so we'll do it as a full piece. And I'm going to score this. So let's get this. This card's a little bit heavier in weight than I've suggested, but it's fine because it'll let us see what that looks like. And that piece I'm going to need to just score along here. So I'm going along that edge because it is I've taken a very, very small piece. I'm just going to roll it. Let's roll it round the pokey tool. That will be a good option. And I'm rolling it because it's going to go on the roof. And there's our windscreen. Right, so for the purpose of this, I'm just going to cut that off. Cut it straight, that'll help. And I'm just going to show you this because this is another option. So I've now reinforced the front windscreen because that's the piece that's the most flimsy. And I've also given the car a black roof and I've taken it down to the piece at the back. So that actually is an option for you if you want to get rid of those cut lines and you want to reinforce the window that we've got at the front. So I'm actually going to stick this on. So I'm just going to make sure that roll properly is there. So just using my board, and let's put a little bit of adhesive. So I wanted to just do a quick little recap for you because it's been a long piece of video, and you know, well done you if you've stuck with it from start to finish. If I've gone too fast, just pause it. You can always turn the sound down if you can't cope with the noise. And one of the things that I think is really important is just seeing all the things that can go wrong and how to put them right. So I'm just going to make sure that that adhesive is just in the right places, which I do believe it is now. Okay, so we'll put this down. So the first thing you do is you reinforce your score lines. The second thing that you do is you actually make sure that your car has got all your pieces laid out in front of you. And then once you've got them laid out, start assembling the main car itself. And once you're assembling the main car, then that's your starting point. You can make your wheels up in advance if you'd prefer to. I'm just getting this little bit of adhesive off the roof. That's another thing. Don't let that happen to you because there's nothing worse than glue somewhere it shouldn't be. And that's then going to stick down like that. I'm just going to hold that for a second or two. So make your wheels, do all the score lines on your car, curve the running board, put the wheels on, and also then decide whether you want to do the elements that I've done on things like the roof. Now that has really reinforced that front window for us. I'm going to put the tiniest little bit of glue here now that I've got it together and I know where everything is, but without me actually closing that, because we want the bonnet and the shape of it to be like it is for a Rolls-Royce. That means that that piece, you need to end up with those corners mitered, which I've got there. And now I'm just going to put the glue. If you're working with wet glue, remember, leave it for a couple of minutes and let it actually start to go tacky before you stick it down. Preferred choice is something like your red liner tape and wet glue together. And then once you have made your car, don't forget, if you're working with red liner, use hand cream on your fingers, so stopping the static with the liner itself. And then let's put our car on. So I'm going to just make sure that the car itself is level, the wheels are level with the bottom. And to make sure it sticks in with a pair of tweezers, anything that will allow you to just hold that down for a second or two and get it all in place. And you can put acetate in the windows. You can do all those little things that are the fun bits about paper crafting. But when it's made and when it's assembled and when it's on the front of a card, it really does look quite impressive, especially if you take the time to go in and get rid of those white edges. That's the difference. So for somebody that you absolutely love, somebody that you want to send something special to, it doesn't get much better than this.